a lighting person explained that cheating the moonshot is impossible because of the light source. That you could get maybe the wattage of lights down, but then you'd have multiple shadows. And he goes, there's no way to achieve that. There's no light big enough except maybe the sun.
He is a film and television production designer, an art director, and now playwright.
He's behind some of television's most iconic shows and is spilling the beans in his new play, Real Stories.
Dean Taucher gets real with us on today's episode. My name is Nancy Magarill. I'm a singer, songwriter, composer, performer, graphic and web designer.
And I'm Peter Michael Marino, and I'm a writer, producer, creator, performer, and educator.
We are New York-based artists you may or may not have heard of.
And we are here to introduce you to other artists you may or may not have heard of. Dean, you have the career I thought I wanted.
Huh.
Wow, really?
Yeah. I wanted to be a set designer. I went to school wanting to be a set designer. And
where did you go to school?
Buffalo.
Okay.
And between set design and graphic design. I just knew I wanted to go into design. And then I just got sucked into the theater world and moved over to acting and directing. But everything I learned from set design, of course, came in very handy as a director. And it allows me to kind of like throw shit together when I have to here in the city. And when I was reading all about you, I was like, wait. Then he did season 3. He did season 3 of Miami Vice, like the most visually stimulating show of that time. Hold on, Sheena Easton was on season 3. No, she was on season 4. Dean, did you work with Sheena Easton?
I don't think so.
Damn it.
Well, you don't really work with the actors, do you? Or did you?
Well, you're on the same set with them, aren't you?
We interact somewhat. I would turn up on set sometimes when they're shooting, and the rest of the crew would ask, "What's wrong?" Because
you were there. They were like, "Uh-oh, why is he here?"
That usually meant the schedule was getting blown up, and I had to talk to everybody to figure out how to make something work. So when I turn up on set, it wasn't like, "Hi, Dean, what do you think of this scene? What do you think of that?" It's just like, it was more like, there's another opinion in the house. I'd have to listen to him too.
Oh, no.
It's a hard job because you're really using both sides of your brain, especially when you're an artist working on TV or film. So much of what you
Broadway.
Yeah. But I'm talking specifically about TV and film. As a production designer, you are not only, designing things, but you're also like managing so many different departments.
Yes.
How did you learn to do that?
I guess the man, I don't know.
Is this what you always want to do? I'm so curious because I know you have this immense love for music and you have an exceptional catalog of music. So how the hell did you get into this aspect of the arts versus music?
That's very easy. I was very involved with our music department in our high school, and there were 2 high schools, and instead of having 2 lousy bands or orchestras, all the students auditioned for a good orchestra and a good band and a bad one. So they were pulling from almost 7,000 students. My high school, again, it was a combined student population of 7,000 some students, just, cheek and jowl to Chicago.
Jeez. And
we had session players who would work with the different, the woodwinds, the this, the that. They were all from the Chicago Symphony. Very good music department, band, orchestra, chorus, marching band, summer camp, band camp. But the big thing at the start of
what were you playing?
Trumpet.
Were you? Okay.
Trumpet. The big thing at the start of every year was the homecoming floats. So every day after school, I would go and help make these homecoming floats. And this went on for like almost 2 months. And I played okay. I think I have a good ear. My ear was good enough to know that I wasn't going to be a professional trumpet player. There were some people, that I played with that were professional trumpet players. One guy in my high school went right from high school into the Chicago Symphony as a French horn player.
Wow.
And I think he was there his entire career.
So you knew you had to do something different, basically.
Well, and I had so much fun making these homecoming floats, and it was like, yeah, I think I'll do that. And I picked something I thought was the closest thing to doing homecoming floats. And at first, I was just going to be like a stage carpenter, and my mother was like, why don't you try to be a designer? If it doesn't work, you can always build.
Good advice. Yeah.
So there you go.
And so then how did you then grow? Did you go to college for this or did you end up just landing an amazing gig?
No, I studied at the Goodman School of Drama, which at that point was part of the Art Institute of Chicago, and it was a conservatory. There were no academics. So it was 3 years. If I got my academics elsewhere, I would have gotten a BFA, and I think I'm like 3 science credits short on that. And I got out of the union, and in that next season, was like designing. I think I designed 5 shows in the Off-Loop Theater in Chicago. So I did shows with people like Joe Mantegna, Dennis Franz, the guy from CSI, what's his name, Billy Peterson. They were all Chicago actors. And then Stuart Gordon at the Organic Theater, who went on, with a big film career in L.A.
That's a lot of big-time players.
So you were actually studying scenic design?
I did.
Okay. And you came out of school with just tons of stuff to show what you did, and then that's what got you hired for these. Because coming out of college and designing for these other places, that sounds miraculous.
Well, because it was Chicago and it wasn't New York, and I didn't even have a BFA. I just had my portfolio and a few things. And
but did that matter as much at that time to have a BFA?
It maybe did in New York. It didn't matter in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I just kept working, and I also got in the union almost right away.
That's big.
They were organizing the Goodman School of Drama. I went to the school, but there was a professional company. I was designing a show for them. They had their main stage, and then they had a secondary, the off-loop version of their company, and I was designing for them, and the union didn't have a contract with the second stage, so basically the union gave me my card to help organize them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And it's pretty hard for people to get their union cards for lighting, for stage. Like my cousin's a lighting designer, and I saw what he went through. Right. That's not as easy, not that getting it for actors is that easy, but it's a bit more of a process, right, to get your union. And when I did it, they asked me, they wanted to give me I was at that point signed up to take the exam, which in Chicago at that point you could take as an all class, where you took set painting, set design, lighting design, and costume design. And so if you were rounded in all of that and strong in some, you would get your all-class card. And I was signed up to take that exam. And a lot of the people in the union knew my work from the school, and they offered me membership. And I said, I want my painting card too. And they go, we can't do that. I said, well, I'll take my chances when I take the exam then. And why did you want the painting card?
Because that's where I made most of my money.
Oh, smart.
Initially.
You had a skill of knowing brushes, knowing paints, knowing application.
The scenic artists, were paid pretty well, and they still are. Their rates are higher than regular crew people in New York.
And why is that?
They were better organized, and the skills were, what's easier to do, measure a piece of wood and cut it, or paint something that's indeterminate of what it is?
I don't know.
Is that a rhetorical question? I don't know. They both sound hard for different people.
Yeah.
No, well, taking a piece of wood and measuring it and cutting it is a little straightforward.
Don't ask me to do it.
But I know what you're saying. You can measure it and you can cut it, but you have to have the skills to cut and the equipment to cut it.
No, what I'm saying is being a carpenter is more straightforward than being a painter.
Is a painter because you also have to have an eye, you have to have a visual sensibility and know how to do the textures. Where you're talking to 2 actors, although Pete's a lot more technical than I am. What is it that makes that different?
Okay, I guess it's the difference between hitting a note and making a song.
Okay.
it's like,
Talking down to my level now, are you?
well, I came out of a music background too. There are some incredibly talented, and when the scenic artists first were establishing their rates and their conditions, it's when a lot of scenery was painted. So you're doing these layouts, you're doing faux finishes, you're doing Renaissance style perspectives, you're doing all these things that are subtle and, coming out of your head to your brush. And it's not like a two-step process: wood, mark, cut. That's 3 steps. It's a
No, we got it.
It's a whole range of things.
Yeah.
And so when I first moved to New York, I wasn't able to design a lot because, who are you? You're from Chicago. You didn't go to Yale or NYU. And I didn't know any of the directors. But I started working as a scenic artist immediately on Broadway shows.
Wow, that's fantastic. What was your first Broadway show? Do you remember?
Yeah, Sugar Babies.
Oh, with
God.
Mickey Rooney?
Yeah, and
Ann Miller.
Ann Miller.
Wow.
That was a
Wow.
great, I guess you were living in the tri-state area at that time, but that was one of those TV commercials that those of us who grew up here saw a lot. And I remember I was probably like, I don't even know, under 10. And I was like, I want to see that show. I remember my parents going, you don't even know what it's about. I'm like, it has the word sugar in it. I know that guy, Mickey Rooney. He's in those movies with Judy Garland,
And it was those beautiful sets that intrigued you in the commercials.
Yes, that was a famous older designer, Raoul Pendebois, who I think did sets and costumes.
So that was your first show, and then that's pretty amazing that you came right here and were able to go right onto Broadway.
But that you weren't necessarily being hired to work on a show, right? You were in a scenic
Shop.
a shop.
Yeah, but the shop,
And this was the show that they were currently working on at that time, right?
Yes.
They covered the floors with the backdrops, and you're painting with long sticks, right? And
you got it.
I didn't know it worked like that. So there are
Yeah.
different shops for Broadway. Very interesting. So a lot of shows will go to the same shop.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they're usually like in New Jersey, right? Are they?
Oh, this was in Bed-Stuy.
Oh, sure,
Oh.
of course.
And then some were used to be in the Bronx, but then there's still some in the Bronx now, and then there were some up in Newburgh.
And that was a different time in the city. What was that like going out to Bed-Stuy at that time?
Well, I basically just went to and from this place, so it was a Caribbean neighborhood, and
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But were you just totally enthralled with the Broadway scene? Like, were you going to see shows when you weren't, painting perspective?
the first time, I'm working in this shop, and we're working on all these different Broadway shows, and I go, I'd like to see this, and I go, could we get tickets to one of the other scenics? He goes, yeah. I go, how do you do it? He goes, you go to the box office. There are no free tickets.
No freebies for you guys.
You don't get free Coke when you're the voice of Coke.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So how did you transition into television and film?
Well-
Did you have years and years of Broadway and then magically...
Well, I want to know, I'd like to
sorry.
stay on Broadway for a bit, 'cause I
Okay.
want to know, how'd you go from being a scenic painter to designing stuff?
Well, I kept designing because I had various contacts from Chicago. So I was designing some regional opera and also some dance, modern dance things. So I did a number of pieces with a choreographer, Lynn Taylor Corbett, who
Sure.
Yes, I know
Oh, we
Lynn.
just
I
lost
worked
her.
with Lynn.
yeah, recently passed away. She was a good friend.
But wait, they're still missing this step. How did you go from painting on the floor to designing operas?
Well,
Well, I'm
you're
saying
doing
I
simultaneously.
I had contacts from Chicago, not from New York, and
So they were hiring you to design, knowing your design work from what you did in school.
I did some opera in Chicago at a smaller, not at the Lyric, at a smaller company that's long gone at this point, and I met some opera directors there, and then I got hired in a small company in Philly, and I probably did 4 or 5 shows for them. And then I was doing some modern dance with Lynn, and I'm not sure what it, so I always
So your portfolio is just building and building and building,
I
a
always
wide
had-
range.
my hand going in some design thing while I was painting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Good for you.
it's great.
And then again, our union in New York covers the entire spectrum of the business, from industrials to commercials to Broadway, some off-Broadway, dance, opera, film, and television.
Wow, that is
So
fantastic.
I'm working with people who are working all over the place. And there was also just this thing called an availability list. If I wasn't working on something, my name would go on there, and somebody, not knowing who you were, would just try you out, see how you work. So then all of a sudden I'm working on some movies. There wasn't a lot of TV in New York at that time, but there were, big movies came in all the time. So I also worked at season 5 of, I was working at the NBC shop, and I did that season of Saturday Night Live, because the hours were so crazy, the old guys didn't want to do it. So they were like, you go do it. And it's just like, maybe I could have gone to any of the after parties, but from Wednesday night to Saturday night, there were these incredibly crazy hours, including Friday night. I'd be there from 8 in the morning all the way to the final rehearsal, which was over at midnight. And then they would clear the floor, and the scenic artists would paint faux finishes on the floor. So we'd be there to 3, 4, some in the morning, go across the street to a hotel and come back at 8 until showtime. And they would do a live rehearsal performance, and then there'd still be notes and touch-ups, and we'd be painting right up until showtime. And I don't think they even wanted to let us go at showtime. And then at that point, do you want to go to an after party?
So when you're working on set, either SNL made me think of this. Are you also involved in like proppy things? Hey, we need a rubber chicken that's edible, or any of that kind of stuff. Is that also in your wheelhouse?
Well, it depends if the rubber chicken comes the right color or not. I mean, and when I'd be working as a designer, all of that comes across your desk.
Yeah, I remembered I was working. I was like, somehow I got hired for an indie film to be the production designer. I wanted to try it. Right. And I had already done some. This is way, way, way back when I moved to New York, and I remembered thinking, oh my God, I have to be on set all the time with everything around my waist. Every kind of tape, every kind of brush, every kind of knife, every kind of, I don't like stuff, so that's not good. But then I remember the director called and she said, okay, it was about a wedding. We got to hire the limousine. What color do you want? And I was like, oh, wait, I'm making that choice?
Wow.
Yeah, you're designing the whole look of the film. You have to decide what color the limousine is. And I was like,
black.
Can you get a pink one? Yes, we can. I was like, all right, that fits my color wheel for this movie. But I knew right after that movie was over, this is not for me. This is like I started with. So many parts of my brain were being used. I could not handle the spreadsheets. I can't handle the spreadsheets.
Well, I started in TV. The first TV show I designed was Miami Vice, and it wasn't low budget. And everything I did, full crews, money, experience. So those sorts of things didn't quite happen to me that way.
Yeah.
In TV and episodic TV, there, the prop person in California, the transpo people do the cars. In New York, the prop people do it. So, well, it actually makes sense. It's
right.
But the whole union thing between New York and California is a whole nother mobbed up story with Reagan and union busting and all sorts of insanity that makes this whole notion about they blacklisted 10 writers just meaningless, because they fired 20,000 people and no one talks about it.
When was this?
47.
Wow.
But that's one of the reasons why in California the union structure is different in a number of fields.
And also, it seems like in our world of business that departments are very very strictly delineated, right? There's always there's always a moment during tech for a Broadway show or even any kind of union show where it's like this thing has to actually go here. Oh, nope, that's not set, that's props. Oh, no,
Right.
It's not props, it's set. Or the old the makeup and hair people also. Well, is that thing considered makeup, or is that considered hair, or is that considered costume?
Right.
You take it, makeup. No, I'm not taking it. I'm giving it to hair.
The same thing with props. It's like the jewelry is props. not costume design.
Which is a little strange.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of consultation in a period movie, with a, high level costume designer, and there might be deference. It's like, okay, you want to do that, you do that, but there's also budget and money involved. So,
Right.
how is that cut?
So Michael Mann, of course, is the man behind Miami Vice. And we'll talk some more about your career after Miami Vice. But Miami Vice's whole thing was, I believe it was Michael Mann or the studio who was like, look, MTV is big. We like music. We like long shots. We like things to be very visual. Make it happen. So Miami Vice was born. And there are parts of Miami Vice where it is literally 3.5 minutes of two guys in a car, right? They're not even talking. You're hearing a song. You're watching some great visuals and all of that.
Not some episodes. Every episode.
Okay, every episode. It's got to launch a song, right?
The structure, it opens with a music montage on shots, and then in the middle of the show, there's another music montage. And then later, New York Undercover had the exact same structure as Miami Vice. Basically, it's a silent movie. It's
a really good way to put it.
Yeah, they'd start with a silent movie with music underneath, no dialogue, that would set up the crime or the dynamics of the episode. And then in the middle of the show, instead of like the car shots, because you're in New York, it was all this shoe leather cops knocking on doors, hitting neighborhoods and stuff like that. But they were...
Some speedboats, a couple of speedboats.
Yeah, speedboats. That much I know. I never really watched Miami Vice. Sorry, Dean. But...
I don't get any residuals. It's no...
Okay. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was thinking, so did you have to really do a deep dive into 80s style or 80s and 90s style for that? And you didn't because you were living it.
Yeah.
That show is 100% of its moment, right? If a new kind of watch that had a springy rubber chicken, let's just do that again, rubber chicken coming out of it was all the rage, they had to somehow make sure that was in that movie so that people would buy more of those things, right?
No, and then there was probably all sorts of product placement with kickbacks to the prop person and the prop guy. There was one the assistant producer worked hand in hand with the prop guy, but it was like, let's put this watch in. Let's put that thing. Wow. Let's put this watch in.
Wow.
And, I don't know, but everything was bent back then.
Yeah, right.
So it was, one only assumes, I hope, that they did okay.
I like that you used the word bent.
The producers at one point are talking about, this was when Universal was still owned by Lou Wasserman and Sid Sheinberg. Two people owned the entire company. No, maybe it was a public company, but they had total control. And these two producers at Miami Vice are wondering how many sets of books they have. They're wondering this because they know how much money they're sending back in cash every episode to Lou and Sid.
Right.
So it's like, well, there's one set for the IRS, there's one internal set for the company, and then there's a third set for Lou and Sid that they got to keep in the office that only they know how much money is coming back to.
So we kind of just jumped to real stories. Is all of this stuff, all of this is what you're putting in your play? Is that what's been in the play? Is all of these kinds of stories?
I love... Listener, Dean has this look in his eye right now that could charm a snake. Amazing. Twinkle, twinkle, he's turning red. This is amazing. I can't wait to see your play. Tell us.
The play, there's a lot of stories that I didn't put in the play. The play is sort of structured where an actor, producer, director, teamster are telling a story where they feel as though they're being mistreated, they're aggrieved. When it plays out, they're the asshole of the story.
So you're doing like a Rashomon, production design Rashomon?
Well, each character has their own...
They have their own part in it. Yeah.
Although we just gave away the plot, so we might have to cut this.
No, there's no plot. It's like it's structured as though it's a podcast, and these three actors are reading these stories, and they help define weird terms in the film business.
Gotcha.
So first it's the term, a messed up definition of the term, and then a story that's tangentially related to that, like method acting, things like that.
And which character are you?
Well, see, writing this play was almost like doing a memoir, but I didn't want to write. And then I did this.
No.
And then I was sitting here and this happened.
But which voice or point of view is closest to you of
Well,
these three?
I guess the thing is, the three actors are to me, were just a means of stitching these stories together. To me, the characters are the people that are telling these stories.
And you're not in it at all.
I mean, the characters are the star who's playing the part.
Yeah.
Are you envisioning this as it's like the male vagina monologues, like one of these shows that like three different guys from three different.
Well, sort of. Sorry,
I'm giving advice, Nancy.
Right, here it
In
goes.
the form of a question.
It's one woman and two guys, and a lot of the stories are misogynistic and.
For Hollywood? So strange.
Yes.
Why?
One of the stories is sexual harassment seminars, which a coworker woman said the day of and the day before the worst days of any year, because every man has to make some off-color remark about having to go through the seminar.
Yeah, of course.
How do you spell harass? Is that
Oh,
harass?
stop it.
No, is that one word or two?
Harass?
Nancy's the
I know,
one.
I got it.
I'm the one who laughed
I
at the
actually
joke.
got this one. I got it immediately. I'm the worst with Joe. It takes me, I don't know. I think my brain.
You're very literal. I think that's
I'm
what
very
it is.
literal.
You're
My
very
friend
literal.
Carol has said, you're so literal, and it
Yeah.
takes me a little while to go, oh, that was a joke. But that one I got. I did. You saw.
We
I
did
got
not
that
mean to
immediately.
harass you. That was not mansplaining, Nancy.
What were your favorite projects that you've worked on? Not financially, what are you most proud of? 'Cause
Creatively.
You've had such an amazing body of work. Like whenever I tell anybody, about you, I'm just like, by the way, he did the first season of Sopranos. He's done this, he's done that. Like you've worked on iconic television shows. You've done a lot of film. What do you feel most represents what you do as an artist?
Well, if I still felt like I was pursuing more of this work, I'd say the next one.
Yeah.
But
It's
in
like,
looking back,
that's done and over, and what's next?
right. But do you feel like anything really represents you as an artist in the work you've done?
Or the one movie or TV show that you're most proud of, your work. You're like, that looks like me.
Looks like me.
I'm sorry, I meant, looks like this represents my brain.
The episode 4 of The Sopranos, the college episode, that one was very good. I like that one.
And what about it? What about it made you like it? We're watching Dean visualize the whole thing.
Well, the sets don't work unless the show is good. It was the best. It was the best episode. So I would say that's there's so many sets that I've done that were good, and then the thing either doesn't get shot, or it's lit terribly, or the whole show is like, how did that happen?
Right.
And then,
Although I think you could probably say that most of that isn't true in a lot of the work you did, because you worked with some of the best in the business, and for the most part, everything is pretty spectacular. At least, I don't know. I would feel that you've.
Well, after 20 years on Law and Order Special Victims Unit, there's plenty of chaff with the wheat.
Of course, yeah, but there's plenty of wheat, I would think.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you've had an amazing career.
Did you I know you're the production designer for LA Takeover, which was a Michael Mann TV film that became the movie Heat. Did you travel with that from TV to movie also?
No. That was. I'd have to look up. I don't remember who the designer was to do that, but there's only a handful or one or two people that go with Michael Mann from movie to movie to movie to movie to movie. I don't think I would be the first to say it's very demanding and not necessarily easy to work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was that movie, it was almost word for word, shot for shot Heat.
What?
You
Wow.
know that?
Well, I've never watched them back to back, weirdly.
Well,
But
watch them back to back. And in
when
fact,
I do, I will be paying attention to that.
and the network insisted on a young cast for L.A. Takedown, but he wrote it for Heat, where it's an older cop and an
Yeah,
older
that's the whole point.
criminal. That was the point of it. But it's the exact plot, story, and some of the same locations, some of the same shots.
Wow.
Can you imagine the mental strength and force to be able to do something like that twice? I mean, this is not a normal human being. You make a movie like that, ripping your soul out to make it, and then you're going to do it again. I mean, one of the interesting things about being a production designer or working in film and stuff like that is you're always doing something new.
Yeah.
And that wasn't doing something new.
But director writers like Michael, they fall in love with this, whatever this baby is that they're raising, and then once it gets to a certain age, they go, actually, we want you to be bigger. Like,
right. Well, he raised this baby, L.A. Takedown, and then drowned it in the bathtub, and then
started over.
Started over.
New baby.
But used all the bones from the baby that was in the bathtub. Wow, that's deep. No pun intended. That's deep.
No. Now, what possessed you after you've have this huge body of work to decide to start as a playwright? How did that happen?
Well, as I was saying, I lived through all these crazy experiences with monsters who killed people. And, that's in the play. They're there. Very nice.
Nice guys.
But you, having worked in theater, you're aware of how long it takes and how challenging it is to develop a new piece and to get it mounted. So that's a big,
Big undertaking.
You're like, that's a big undertaking. Exactly. You just felt like it was time.
Well,
Or
yes,
you feel like you really need to share this story right now.
It was a week in March in 2020, and I had maybe stayed at the dance too long on Law & Order Special Victims Unit. And I said, it was a Monday, and I said, even if you're going to add more shows for next season and work into the summer, I'm done at the end of this season. I'm done.
And had the pandemic already started?
No, then Thursday they shut the entire
Wow.
film down because of COVID. So
Wow.
I missed 6 months of COVID shutdown. I missed all the really insane restrictions when they started shooting again with all these checks and this and that. And then I missed 2 strikes.
Wow.
I missed the writer's strike.
Did you
and the
miss
actor's
them?
strike. What?
Did you miss them?
I did. I did miss them.
Oh, the strike was the best
thank
part. I
God.
loved marching
Yeah.
around with masks and
God.
very effective.
And as an example, on Law and Order, on probably all the Law and Order shows, the writing staff was probably 10 to 14 writers, and they all get paid as producers. So every episode, they're all getting some money, depending on what level they are in their career. They could be getting a little to a lot, but they're all making enough money, more than enough money to live. And then they might write 1 or 2 or 3, and then they get their writer's fee and the residuals from that. Well, the writers got this new contract making sure that there would be 5 writers on every episode, because the streaming things, sometimes it would be 1 writer who'd write the whole thing. Well, the other network shows, Dick Wolf then fired all these other writers. So the show now has only 5 writers. All of the Dick Wolf shows and probably every network show that exists still as an episodic show went from having a dozen to 5. So the Writers Guild, brilliant, unintended consequences. They thought they were doing something to save things, and they inadvertently screwed over a bunch of their writers.
So let's talk about what's next for you.
What's next for the play? Have you had a read through yet?
I had 2 readings, one in Bay Street Theater in Sag Harbor. And
I
one
love that place.
one at Theater Row.
Was the West Bank, right?
No, across the street
Oh,
in Theater
okay.
Row. And there's a director who's interested in doing it, and we have it in front of a theater right now, and we're waiting to hear back. But
Oh, that's wonderful. Is it in the city or where is it?
yeah, it's in the city, so I don't
Oh,
think I
that's
can
great.
say what.
He's opening cold, folks.
That's all
He's
right.
opening
Well,
cold.
well, you'll keep us posted. That's fantastic.
I would
Well,
love to see this show.
There's a nibble.
That's a, you
I
know
don't
what?
think-
A nibble's
I
a
don't-
nibble.
I'm not reeling it in yet. There's a nibble.
That's all right. It's cool that you did this. It's a big departure for you. So I think it's really exciting.
Who's designing it?
Well, this director works with somebody who does a lot of. He's incredibly good with sound. The director is, and he works with the designer that has done all these amazing things with projections. And so I'm going in and out of these different stories and different worlds. This would be because
Yeah.
I have it set in a recording studio, as though they're doing this podcast there. But this would open it up and make it a lot more interesting.
Plus, we already had Stereophonic last season, so we don't need to be in another recording studio for 3
Yeah,
hours.
well, this wouldn't be that. The trouble is that's musicians, and this is not like that.
Pete Marino.
It's on silent, but I always forget that there's 2 people who can get through to me in an emergency.
yeah.
One is my 82-year-old mom.
Okay, well.
Your cousin's coming
who's
for a visit. Clearly, a very important message. Your cousin Judy's coming for a visit. I'm so happy. Oh, shit. My mom's going to listen to this.
I just had lunch with my 2-year-old grandson and my 105-year-old mother.
And I think your mother's probably one of the oldest. I mean, obviously, one of the oldest living people in the country right now, maybe in the world. Have you do you know who the oldest is? She's amazing, by the way. She is unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I don't know where that puts her. I don't think 105. It's old, but I think you have to get in the teens before you start
Make
getting
that
into
list.
the.
Did she get her card from the president?
No,
What? That's
No.
like the whole point, isn't it?
no, she never got a card from the president. But
Wow.
I think she wouldn't have wanted the card. I think when she turned 100, I think it was the one who's there right now.
Oh, so she wouldn't want that would be burned.
My grandmother died at 99, and to her, literally from the grave was like, 1 more year and I would have gotten that letter from the president. Like, that's what she lived for, was the letter
I
from the
never
president.
even knew this. So you turn 100 and you get a letter from the president?
Some of them.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I guess not all of them. Well, without that letter, they might be able to cut off her Social Security now.
right.
Maybe she's actually
Oh,
not alive.
Happy birthday and fuck off.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh God. I thought we
Dean.
weren't going there this episode.
We barely
we were
did.
trying
We're
not
talking
to
about
because we've been trying to avoid because
this is
every
how
episode
fucked up.
it's-
We're in a place where even birthday cards are connected to politics. Unbelievable.
crazy.
Dean, I can't wait to see your show. And I can't wait to bring so many people I know would love to hear these stories. And I'm really looking forward to watching 2 back-to-back episodes of Dean's The Best of Dean. To be fair, I have to be honest, I am watching the original pilot of The Love Boat tonight as well. That nobody from the cast who we know was on. I can't wait for this.
Wait, what do you mean you're watching the pilot?
It's on a friend found it on YouTube, and it is the pilot episode of The Love Boat, which was just a TV movie. And they changed the whole cast for the second pilot, and then they changed half the cast for the series.
Oh, that's too
Right.
funny. That's your
And,
big Friday night plans.
I want to see what of the pool. The pool was all the greatest thing about the Love Boat. Believe me, there's one. The greatest thing about the Love Boat is the terrible lighting, because they are always outside on the deck at the pool, and everyone has 3 shadows. Dean, would that drive you crazy?
Yeah, a lighting person explained that cheating the moonshot is impossible because of the light source. That you could get maybe the wattage of lights down, but then you'd have multiple shadows around. And he goes, there's no way to achieve that. There's no light big enough except maybe the sun.
So you
Yes!
just debunked all of the conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
The moon landing happened.
Yeah, you can't
You can't light it.
You can't light that.
And if you watch Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, which I also recently watched because I'm working on a B-movie inspired project, every scene at night is clearly day for night. Every single one of them. They never even tried to fool us.
Right.
But at least it's consistent. And there's a 50-foot woman in it. So.
There was a movie, I think it's called, Supermodel Hitman or something like that. But it was.
God, are we dating ourselves?
No, it looked like they'd shot it to make it look like it was shot in the 50s, but it was shot more recently, and it was really hilarious.
Just because they couldn't get it right, or because they nailed it?
They nailed it not being right.
Oh, God, I'm going to have to watch it now to know what you're talking about.
We're ending our episode on a cliffhanger. People,
Yes.
You have to watch this and figure out, what does that mean? It's right but not right, where it's right and not right. Hey, thanks for checking this out. Links to today's guest can be found in the show notes.
Don't forget to subscribe, like us, rate us, and tell all your friends about arts and craft.